Alright, I am back. I am now fed and dressed. Okay. So if you didn't see the previous episode, we have now added this random fuzz tester thing, which will jump back and forth between different points in history and reveal bugs like this one. So what happened here? Unfortunately, it's something to do with the reticulator, which is extremely complicated. So this lane doesn't exist in the reticulator. Okay, let's look at the log to try to get an idea of well, oddly, it's something to do with lanes changing location. But the last thing that happened was this, unless the latest line of the log just hasn't been flushed yet. I don't know how the Godot logging works, but it wouldn't surprise me if I'm just missing one more line of log, which makes this logging a little bit useless actually. If I can't see the latest event that happened. I guess I could continue and let the exception be caught. Continue, and then recheck the log. Just go. Open the log again. No, there's nothing new. And now I've lost my place. Oh no, we're still here. Okay. Alright, create microcores. So, set location. Okay. The location of a block instance changed. And then we try to create microcores, but the lane doesn't exist. Which it might not. Don't know about that. Try to get the list of micros for this lane, which doesn't actually exist in the reticulator model yet. Let's try and reproduce it again. So something to do with things literally just moving around. Yeah. Okay. Let's try and get as simple a reproduction case as possible. So just create a block, create another lane, then move it to another lane. Does that cause a problem? Yes. Okay. That's good. Can I reproduce it myself without the fuzz tester? I assume so. There's no threading involved here. Okay, like this, move like that. Ah. So this lane hasn't been added to this data structure yet, which is quite interesting because lanes do get processed before these things. Articulator. Have changed. Somewhere in here I should have lane added. What the? Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. TQ. Where does oh, I understand. So reticulator is updated in response to gen changing. If I go back to here, gem is updated first, then gen. So we're updating gem first, which happens here. Gen happens second, and this is where the reticulator stuff happens. So I can't refer to anything. I shouldn't be interacting with the reticulator in here, but I kind of have to. This is the same issue I was having the other day with this, the ordering of stuff. It makes perfect sense why it would break. There's probably more of this stuff. It makes me think I need to... This problem fundamentally is... image diff. The way that this function works, which is not my function, it's part of this library. Really, I have to do 2 passes. I have to do 1 pass to detect all of the things that were added. Well, ideally, I would do 3 passes. 1 to detect all the things that have been removed, then another to detect things that have been added, and then another to detect things that have been changed. But that's not the way it works. And it would be a bit of a... It would be slightly inefficient to do that. Because it's 3 times as much work to diff everything. The alternative is to just expand my notification system. Because I can add, when I'm responding to all these changes between the 2 versions of the model, I can add notifications to, it basically makes a note to update something later rather than straight away. Maybe that's just how everything should work. I should just use notifications for everything rather than just responding immediately. Because I'm going to have more of these kinds of problems. That'll be a big change if I want to do that though. So at the moment I just have these notifications defined here. for things that are dirty and need to be updated and that kind of thing. Things that need to be changed but can't be changed right away. Things that might need to happen as a response to several other things happening, and I don't want it to like happen over and over again, so I just make a note that this thing needs to update and then it happens later. So if I'm going to just switch to just using this kind of system for everything rather than just some of the things, then first of all I wouldn't be doing it like this. I would have one big list of variant, and then I would remove duplicates afterwards, because this is basically a tuple of sets. Because if I have multiple, for example, if this is a notification that happens when the final color of a block instance changes, and there are multiple things that could affect that. For example, if the color override changes, then the final color will change. If the current track that the block instance is located on changes, if it changes from one track to another, then that can also affect the final color. If both of those things happens in the same frame, then I don't want to calculate the final color twice. So that's the reason why I use a bunch of sets here. If I drill into this, it's like a tuple of sets. So if I try and add the same thing twice, duplicates won't be added. So the alternative to that is just have a big vector of actions and then sort them. Sort them by index, first of all, variant index, and then remove duplicates. Well, sort them by identity, remove all the duplicates, and then resort them by actually like what should happen before what. Like this needs to happen before this needs to happen before this. And then process them. And that would solve all of these problems that I'm going to be running into, like this one right here that I've just run into, where I'm expecting a lane to be existing in a data structure, but it doesn't exist yet because things are happening in the wrong order. Because I'm not in control of the order that things happen at the moment. I'm at the mercy of the behavior of this function. And the behavior of this function is just it will tell me what's added and then what's removed and what's changed. And well, the order is not important because my code should be agnostic to the order that those things happen in, and at the moment it's not. It's very dependent on the order. It's very sensitive to the order that those things happen. I think I do need to, change this. So I'm going to do a bit of a refactor of my refactor here. So that when something changes, like for example, so these functions here are being called in response to those imadiff things. So this happens, No, that's not true. This one, for example, when a block instance changes, this would be called, and then I'm doing all of this stuff in response to precisely the way in which it changed. And instead of doing it all in line, like this, well, this is the crucial code here. This is the actual code that does something. Everything else is just propagating more of the comparisons. So instead of doing it in line, I would create a notification to do this thing later. Do this thing later. It just gets added to a list, and then after I finish diffing everything, remove all the duplicates from the list, and then resort the list according to my my actual requirements for the software. Because the library doesn't know what order things should be in, but I do. Okay. So it's any code that I have in here which is not just checking something's changed. Anything that doesn't, basically any line of code in here that doesn't contain the word changed is stuff that I need to stick into an action instead. What's going on here? Yeah. I think that would work fine. So that's a bit of a change. That's probably the rest of my day is going to be doing that then. So that's going to take a while. But I think that's basic. I think that is what I need to do, because the way things are working now, I'm realizing now are quite error prone and sensitive. And there's, I don't know, there's just like this problem that I just ran into now. I'm not sure how I would solve it other than using this existing notification system. And there's going to be more bugs like that, where basically instead of doing something straight away in response to that imadiff calling one of my callbacks, I need to defer it until later. There's going to be a bunch of bugs like that. And so this list of things that are deferred until later is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it would be simpler and clearer if I just used this system for everything rather than just some of the things.